Cliff friends, my 4th and 5th graders. I am so excited to share with you our Stations of the Cross at Home edition. So I have put together, parents, a guide for you for each station. Normally at the Cliff on Palm, which will fall on a Palm Sunday pretty much every year, we have our Stations of the Cross and a whole walk through Holy Week. And we will get more into Holy Week once we get there next week. But for now, we are starting our Stations of the Cross at home because there are 14 stations, and so if we start them today, then we will be on our 14th station and our final one on Good Friday. And the Stations of the Cross, if you aren't familiar with them, are kind of a guided journey through Good Friday. For more information on the Stations of the Cross and sacred spaces and pretty much just this guide in general, I encourage you to read through the first page of that guide that I put together. There's a ton of information on what in the world the Stations of the Cross or the Via Dolorosa are, sacred spaces, what you're going to need, and just kind of a quick introduction to what we're going to be doing. So I highly encourage you read that. That guide, again, does have all 14 stations available. So if you would like to do them on your own, they are designed to be daily stations. I will be going live here on YouTube every night for the next 14 days at 5 p.m. So if you would like to tune in and do them with me, also you can always come back to our YouTube channel and watch them if you'd like to do them with me at a later time. Whatever works for you, but all 14 stations are provided, so do them as they fit in your schedule and they are useful to you. And all you will need, as you'll see on that first page, to do a station, they're kind of like devotionals is an easy way to think of them to do at home. So you are going to need a candle of any kind, a Bible, and you will need, if possible, to display the image for each station. So if you look at that guide, you'll see there is a separate painting for each station, and underneath it there's kind of like a little italicized notes that has a link to pull up a bigger image of that painting. And so you can do that on your phone, you can print it out if you want to, you can put it up on your computer, whatever works for you. But seeing that image and as you read through the story and do these listening stones together is very useful. If you can at all display it, I strongly recommend you do so. So image, candle, Bible, and then of course listening stones. So for our videos, I will be using my listening stones that I made at home. I keep them in my old rosary bead box. I made these guys out of Post-it notes, but for more information on how to make your own at home, y'all, it is the easiest thing ever. I made these in like 5 minutes. But on how to use listening stones, what in the world they are, how to make them at home, I have already made a little YouTube tutorial, so I will link that down below as well with the guide in case you missed that and you would like to check that out. So without further ado, I am going to flip the camera over so you can see what I'm doing, and I encourage you to gather all those supplies and I will walk you through our first station. So let's get started. Alright, hopefully we have all gathered all of our supplies. So we have our candles, our Bibles, our listening stone, and some kind of display of our image for today. So I invite you, with all of your supplies that you've gathered, to go find somewhere quiet that you can sit, either on the floor or at a table, but just find the most quiet room that you can. And then have a seat and put your candle in between you or in front of you and begin to lay out your listening stones and make sure they're all face up to where you can see them. And as you place these, I want to remind you that the symbols on these stones don't have any meaning of their own. They mean whatever they mean to you in this moment when you look at them. Now that we have our listening stones all placed, I want to invite you into a sacred space. And remember, a sacred space isn't somewhere that I can take you. It's somewhere that we have to go together. So right now I want you to close your eyes. And I just want you to listen to the sound of your own breathing. Breathing in and out. I want you to listen to the noises that might be going on around you. Maybe it's a pet throwing around a squeaky toy in the other room. Maybe it's the hum of the air conditioner. Maybe it's your sibling talking in the other room. I want you to listen to your breathing again. Now take in the biggest breath ever. Seriously, the biggest breath that your lungs can possibly hold. And now let it out as slowly as you possibly can. You can keep your eyes closed or open them at this time if you'd like. I'm going to read to you a verse 3 times. And the first time I read it, I want you to close your eyes and just listen. The second time, open your eyes and look at the symbols on the listening stones before you. Maybe one starts to stand out a little bit. Maybe not. That's okay. And then the third time, I want you to keep looking at those stones and keep listening. And I bet at least one of those is going to stand out to you more than the rest. And after I've read the verse the third time, I want you to pause this video and take as much time as you need in quiet until you're ready to share. And when you're ready to share, just share with one another which stone you picked out and why. And then once you return to the video, I will tell you my stone and share with you. And then we will pray together, we will bless one another, and that will be the conclusion of our first station. So I invite you at this time to light your candle with me. Now close your eyes and just listen. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation." Now open your eyes and hear these words again. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation." Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation." So I had two stones stand out to me. The first one was the foot, because this was the first time reading this passage that I noticed in the very opening line it said he went to the garden as usual. And I don't know why the foot kind of reminded me of walking somewhere often or kind of a usual path or thing we do. But that was the first time I noticed in that verse personally that going to the garden or the Mount of Olives to pray wasn't like a new thing for Jesus. It was something he did regularly. And then the other one that stood out to me was the broken heart. Because I think this is one of the few times in the Bible that you see Jesus really struggling and needing to go to God for strength and for some help. So hopefully you have all shared with each other as well. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this season where we take opportunities like going through the stations of the cross to remember these parts of the story. Thank you for the gift of the Bible that we may read it and remember and share and be with one another in Scripture and with you in these quiet, sacred moments. Please help us remember that Jesus too needed some help sometimes, and when Jesus needed extra strength, he went to you and he prayed, and that is something we can always do. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And I send you each off with a blessing, and I hope you, after this video, bless one another. My 4th and 5th graders, I know you know how to do some blessings, so help your parents out. And may you always remember that you are so incredibly blessed to be a blessing. I will see you back this time tomorrow for Station 2.